Hey there, welcome to another Lemon 64 play guide and review. This time we'll be checking out Sly Spy, developed by Software Creations and published by Ocean in 1989. The code was created by Mike Ager, who also worked on Psycho Pigs UXB in 1988, and also code provided by John Buckley, who worked on Rapid Fire, and also Psycho Hopper, about a space hopper, and also Iron Horse for Konami in 1989. The graphics were mainly by Martin Holland, who also worked on Psycho Hopper, and the music was by Jeff Folin, who also created the music for Puzznik for Ocean in 1990. Let's press that fire button and let's check this game out. We must enter our clearance code. Let's enter it as 00 negative. Yes, the Council for World Domination is the CWD, and that's who we've got to face. First of all, we are flying above Washington DC, and we have to jump out of a plane and skyfall our way down through the clouds, picking up ammunition on our way down there, and killing all these guys that are parachuting down to try to kill us. Having done that, we will open up our parachute, and this time instead of a Union Jack, it's a red, white and blue American flag instead. That leads on to the second part of the first level, and now we get to walk down a Washington Street on our way towards the Lincoln Memorial, and as we approach Lincoln we'll be assaulted again by lots of bad guys. You can see I've got the golden gun at the moment, and we'll return back to the golden gun a bit later on. And I think in this section we can stand in the bottom right corner and be immune to all these guys falling down. But I'm standing in the bottom left corner here, and that means I'm taking a beating, and our life energy meter is on the bottom, and also the enemy's energy meter as well. After that we'll get our first glimpse of a map, and we'll capture one of the CWD's leaders. And he's escaping, so we'll grab a bike and start after him and chase down the enemy. On the Amiga version of this level, you can maybe push forward and press fire to jump, and I think maybe you can press spacebar to jump, but I didn't get that to work during this playthrough. What you have to do is shoot the guys who are lobbing grenades down on us, and also shoot the bikes in front as well. Really, if you are careful, you shouldn't take any damage on this section whatsoever, and if you are patient, you should have plenty of energy left for the boss. Towards the end of that level, the boss will appear in a black sedan, and that means that he will be firing a rocket launcher and also some machine gun rounds as well. All you need to do is duck under those, and that's level complete, and it's very easy introduction as we whisk our way through Washington DC. This is being loaded from a cartridge, and yet it's still quite lengthy in its load times, and I had this on the original cassette version, and it won't surprise you to know that it took longer to load the levels than it did to actually play them. So let's get on to level 2. Here we find ourselves in the Dockland area of Washington DC, and our first challenge is to climb this ladder. The Amiga version, it's the best policy to milk the enemies of health here, and the Coke cans represent health, It's a great idea to have full health before you get to the boss, but on the C64 version you can be robbed of health very quickly by those guys firing bullets before we can even duck and fire. Armed with just a Walther PPK pistol, and we don't have the golden gun at this point. That's some more time if you really need some more time, although on the C64 version you can see the time is almost frozen. Those 38 seconds seem to last forever. You can see some health, and that only gives us 1 point of health at this point, and the health can give us a random amount on the C64 version. Again, it's best to find those cork cans and get that health up to maximum before we face our first boss. And at the moment I'm struggling. There you go, that gives us an extra 2 health points, and that should mean that we have enough to face the final boss, and I can't milk any more enemies from there. The final boss of level 2 is Jaws, and you might recognise Jaws from 1 or 2 James Bond movies, and in this case we can shoot him in the face, but that doesn't really work. From my experience, I like to jump towards him with a flying kick just as he's jumping towards us, and that should mean that we get a target score and knock his head off first time. Very satisfying to knock down Jaws and also to see our progress on this mini-map. And it's time to go swimming. Don't forget your harpoon. So here we are in Washington. We now dive into the river, and the Potomac River runs straight through Washington. We'll need to get to the warehouses, and for that we'll need to dive into the river. And this river is shark infested, and under normal circumstances we can shoot the sharks with our harpoon. See a G there, and that's the first part of our golden gun, which appears in the bottom corner. And also we can pick up, if we are quick, those jet propelled diving vessels that the enemy has, and then we can jet around the level with those very quickly. But we didn't manage to pick one of those up in this case. I love the atmosphere and the music on this level, and again it's very easy, so it's very easy to conserve the health at this point. This is not an easy game, even though it starts off very easy. It's very difficult indeed, and yet once you master this, it's great to tackle it and beat the game. It's not a very long game, and you can probably complete it in around 20 minutes. Although with the cassette version, you'll probably wait in an hour of that time, waiting for it to load. This is a rip-off of the James Bond series, but it also rips off other series as well. And of course, at the very end of this, we'll face an end of a level boss. And the end of the level boss is in the shape of a huge shark the size of Jaws. And so they're ripping off James Bond and Jaws already. And you might notice a few other game references that this game's ripped off. But you can see all those layers of parallax in the background really add some depth. And I really love the atmospheric music on this level, and I actually love the difficulty curve as well. This enemy is not hard, and you shouldn't have to take any damage whatsoever. Sly Spy is a conversion of the arcade original, and just like the arcade, virtually all of it is in there. And that's an amazing feat on the Commodore 64 to throw a whole arcade game together onto the screen. And it manages to do that, and it retains some of the playability as well. Now clambering out of the water, it's time to get to the Georgetown Docks. and if you carry on going down the river, you'll reach Bethesda, but we're not going that far. We're departing at Georgetown, and now we have to rescue a damsel in distress from the docks. And that means, just like Rolling Thunder, we'll have to manoeuvre our way around a level and shoot the bad guys as we face them. Like Rolling Thunder, they do have a bit of AI. Basically, they'll shoot us down before we even get to them, so it's important to be ducking and shooting at all times. That's another part of our golden gun, and that's the second part, and another one. These definitely appear at random, and sometimes you can collect all the parts of the golden gun, which has, I think, a limited time available, maybe limited ammunition as well. Once we have that, we can fire that towards the enemies. It's a one-shot kill, but it's still difficult to aim our attacks, especially on those flying enemies, and to get those on target. Another life lost, and we seem to have spawned right on top of the spikes, which don't kill us in this stage, and that's very good because we could have led to an endlessly repeating death zone there, and spikes in any game aren't particularly helpful in any case. Here we go, marching through that level, just like Rolling Thunder. He has a massively long jump, and he can rack off lots of bullets in that gun, even though it's only supposed to hold maybe 8 bullets in it. So here we go, ducking under the spikes. We get towards the end of the level, and at the end of this level there is a huge end of level boss in the form of a tiger. And just like the arcade version, we'll have to face that tiger and defeat it if we want to get off this level. The tiger is quite difficult, but it does have a pattern, and it is possible to shoot a few shots and then jump back to safety, and that means hopefully that you can shoot the tiger from a distance. And if you can kill the tiger and not waste any more continues at this point, you should be able to write your ticket towards the end of that game. And if you take all of the energy away, just like me on this particular try, it means unfortunately that you'll be lacking on the energy front and you'll be unable to complete the game. Of course, if you can get away with the first few levels without continuing, you should have a spare continue by now. In the top corner we can see a woman, and she looks like she's been hung by the neck in this version, but in the arcade she's actually strapped up and screaming for help. Help me, help me! So just like the world's worst APB game, you have to rescue the damsel in distress, and you also have to kick that bad guy. In this case the tiger is dead. That means we get to face some more loading and then eventually the map. So going through CWD's warehouse, it eventually leads to a cave. And the cave is the last section that I managed to get to in this playthrough. If you haven't got health by this time, you're not going to make it to the end. And after the cave there is a very easy diving section, which really does give us a breather towards the end of the game. And then after that there's just a simple level where we have to blow up a massive missile, which is supposed to be blowing up America. But we won't get to see the missile or the easy underwater diving section because we're going to die on this section right here. I think the music and the graphics are great, and the playability as well. It's not so easy to be a pushover. In fact, it's not so easy at all. Even though the first few levels make the game look easy, it's great to be able to get deep into it and yet not be able to complete it. Taking a look at the scores, Quincy Sheldon Cooper, Commodore Force gave this 58%, the Lemon 64 guys gave this 73%, Zap awarded this 76%, and the highest score went to Commodore Formats, who gave this 87%, which means Sly Spy Secret Agent gets 7 out of 10. That's my death, and that's game over, and that means that we get to go all the way back to the title sequence again, and you can see some James Bond rip-off images on that title sequence, and then eventually we get to see our high score on the high score table. So thank you again for checking out this guide. It's deceptively difficult, and yet it's quite fun on a Commodore 64. Thank you.